Welcome in. It's a Friday, and this is the Sports Huddle on SEMO ESPN Radio. You can always find us online at SEMOESPN.com. Or if you have a smartphone, it's easy to follow us online. Just download the free app. Go to your app store, search for SEMO ESPN. It's got the Listen Live link, links to our contests and promotions, the latest breaking news, the latest radar weather forecast, and a link to our podcast page. It's the SEMO ESPN app. Eric Shawn, lead singer of the Mike Rennick Band, is in studio this morning. Mr. Michael Rennick, you can join us as well. Here is our EBOMD Huddle hotline number, 334-1220. 573-334-1220. Huddle hotline powered by EBOMD. You got golf on your mind this morning?
You mean the tournament going on right now?
You got a golf shirt on today.
No,
maybe you're in golf mode.
Take a close look at this, Eric. Wiffle ball shirt.
Oh, it's a wiffle ball shirt. Okay.
Yeah, wiffle ball World Series.
I got you.
In the
I'm getting a
Masters-esque.
I'm getting a glare
Yeah.
from the sneeze guard that sits between us here in the studio. Yeah, it looks like it's a Masters T-shirt, but not really.
But it says the 25th annual Wiffle Ball World Series. A backyard tradition unlike any other.
All right. Little play on words with the Masters.
Yeah.
Is it 25 years? How old's that shirt?
Couple years old now.
Okay.
Yeah. It's getting up there.
Man.
Pushing almost 30 years of backyard magic. Sherwood Yards.
Some of these guys are walking to the plate with a literal walker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's been going on that long.
Yeah.
All right. Big weekend coming up. The Cape Catfish won their home opener last night. Now, they've got games Saturday and Sunday at home against the Jackson Rockabillys, but they will be in Jackson, Tennessee tonight to play the Rockabillys. So it basically is a 3-game series, but they will be on the road. Interesting start to their season. 2 straight road games, 1 home game, then back right on the road before they have a couple of weekend home games. But, man, they are scoring some runs. 12 runs last night, 3 home runs. And I guess if you're going to watch the Catfish this year and you like offense, you picked the right year.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. I got to listen to about half the broadcast last night with Rusty, and turned it on. He had Glenn Campbell on, who's president of the Catfish, and they were racking up the runs big time. I heard they have 12. I think they have 12 returning players.
It's a lot.
Which for that type of league, which you've got, players that kind of will rotate leagues, rotate teams, whatever the case. But they got 12 returning players from last year, which I think the most I heard that a prospect league team has had in the past has been like 4 or something like that. So I think it says a lot for Cape Girardeau and the fan base that comes out to support the team, and Glenn and Coach Hogan and those guys running the team. Jim Limbaugh. So had a good crowd last night, from what we could tell, and it's a fun atmosphere, that's for sure, for certain.
Do we know if the rain held off? Now I'm up in St. Jen.
Yeah,
I don't know if the rain held off.
It wasn't bad.
We just got bad
Pretty
news
nice.
from Charleston. Michael Minner says that's it. They got
washed out.
They got hammered last night, so they were supposed to play a doubleheader tonight, doubleheader tomorrow. Wiped away.
It rained a lot last night, overnight. So I was really surprised the other night whenever he sent that message out saying that they were canceled for their opener. I didn't think it had rained that much, overnight that night. But he said, half inch of water, had standing water on the field.
Yeah.
And, so they'll get rolling one of these days. Get their.
That's 6 games they've had rain. They haven't played a game yet. 6 games washed out.
Yeah. Well, he figures out ways to squeeze in games, though. I mean,
hopefully you got to get an opponent.
Yeah, that's true.
So they've got the Perfectos at home on Monday night. It'll be a 5 o'clock doubleheader on Monday if if the weather cooperates.
Well, it's supposed to be very nice today, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, maybe even into Tuesday.
Good.
Looks like a little midweek rain potentially, but starting to inch up a little bit temperature-wise. So there should be a little window there to get that game in on Monday, I would think.
So the lovely and talented Dawn Shawn had the day off yesterday. So, we're a little north of Cape. So we decided, we hadn't been to a movie in a while. So Festus is only about 30 minutes. It's further to drive to Cape. Those are the nearest movie theaters. So went to see the new Final Destination movie. We were going to go to the Mission Impossible movie, but Final Destination started an hour earlier. Mission Impossible's a little longer movie. Have you seen any of the Final Destinations? I think there are 5 of them.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No.
All right. It's kind of thriller / blood and guts type stuff. It's
right up your alley.
Yeah, well, with these movies, the whole premise of it is one of the movies, I don't remember which one, this senior high school class, they were going on a class trip, and I forget where they were flying, like to Europe or something, and something happened. There was a disruption on the plane before it took off, so a bunch of them they got off the plane. And the plane took off, and it exploded. So they were all supposed to have died, but they all got off, so they cheated death. And so the premise is death will not be cheated. He is coming for you, and then one by one, these freakish, there's no chance these accidents could actually happen. These accidents start taking out all the people that were supposedly, that were supposed to be on this particular plane.
Right.
And each movie, it's got a different way that a group of
different twists.
Teens
Yeah.
escape death.
Yeah.
And so death is coming for them in all the movies. And some of the ways that they die are like, you have to suspend belief when you go in to see some of these movies.
Yeah.
Kind of like going to see a James Bond movie. Okay, the Bond movies are fantastic, especially, some of the newer ones where you really get the high-tech stunts and things like that. So, if you're just watching, you're like, oh, right, like that car could do that and jump there and not tear up the entire underbody of the car. How did the tires not blow out? You can sit there and watch a movie like that and you walk out. Some movies you have to suspend belief and say, hey, I'm going in and I'm just going to be entertained for 90 minutes or an hour and 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Final Destination is one of those. You're like, okay, what set of circumstances is going to happen? Like in this new movie.
Are you going to spoil it for everybody?
Well, there's one spot where they go to the hospital and a couple of the guys go into this room where there's an MRI machine. And for whatever reason, this clipboard falls. It activates the MRI machine. They're not even paying attention. And all of a sudden, there's a huge magnet that's attached to this MRI machine. And this magnet gets super powered up. It's like overload. And so everything metal is flying towards this big magnetic MRI machine. That's what MRI stands for, magnetic imaging, magnetic, what is it? Resonance imaging.
Yeah.
And so chaos ensues, death ensues because the magnet is drawing all the metal objects that are even close to the machine. And people die.
Isn't it, is it fitting? Is the timing meant to be that they release a movie like this right as all these seniors in high school are graduating?
Yeah, maybe the other ones got released at the same time. I think it's like the first one since, 2011.
Okay.
They had they didn't make them anymore. I think there were 4 or 5 of them. And so this one came out. I thought, it's a fun summertime movie if you don't mind a little blood and guts and things like that. So you're trying to go along with the characters, and man, you got to keep your head on a swivel, man. Something's going to happen. There's a chain of events are going to happen. But the opening scene is really cool. A lot of CGI. It was a fun watch. I'm not going to say it's worthy of any awards, but
good summertime kickoff.
Don Sean liked it.
So that reminds me of a movie series that I like that started a long time ago. A lot of turns and can't. You got to let your mind go to the absurd, I guess, to a degree. And it's the Saw movies.
Oh, I like the Saw movies.
Yeah, now those are a little blood and gutsy as well.
They are.
And sometimes I find myself turning my head or whatever, but you kind of watch with one eye or whatever the case is. But I remember seeing that first one, like, oh my gosh, and then they come out with the sequel to it, and there's a bunch of them now.
They got like 10 or 11 of them now.
Yeah,
I'm
lost
pretty
track
sure
after a while.
I've seen them all.
Have you? I think I stopped after. I stopped making a point to see them.
Right.
After there were so many of them, but then you see them on on reruns on TV or whatever the case is. But same sort of deal where it's just who thought of these ways to inflict pain on
the
people.
Jigsaw killer, he wants to play a game.
Yeah.
And Dawn Sean, thumbs down. She does not like the Saw movies.
Oh.
I don't know why. I mean, she's all right with scary movies, but she says that those don't fall into the scary movie category for me.
Yeah, I can see that.
So she's anti-Saw.
My dad loved. He loved. The movies. They were scary, but there was no real blood and guts. But the type, the red rum, and
The Shining,
yeah, stuff like that.
Stephen King based type, movies.
That are just, it's like, yeah, I could see, you could see that happening. You could see someone, kind of losing it in a way, in certain circumstances. That more the mental creepiness, I guess, that those movies seem to dive into. As opposed to the gore.
There are some, I'm good with scary movies. Some just look too freaky. I can say a movie is too freaky. But when you get into like the paranormal activity movies, can't do it.
Poltergeist?
Well, no. No, that's an older movie with Craig T. Nelson.
I know it's older,
but the paranormal activities movies, and there are several of them. I don't need to be sleeping with the light on, so I'm out with those.
Ghostbusters.
No, I'm good. I'm good with Ghostbusters. Anything Bill Murray's in, I'm in. I'm in. All right, we at least for another day get to listen to the insufferable New York Knicks fans as the Knicks, with an impressive win at home over the Indiana Pacers, and it's very interesting. Some people don't think that Tyrese Halliburton is a superstar basketball player. He's good. He's an all-star, but really not an elite superstar type player. And if you wanted a little evidence, maybe you saw it last night. Halliburton, after he had that historic game with no turnovers, 30 points, double-digit assists, close to double-digit rebounds. I mean, he just had a monstrous game for Indiana. Last night, it's 2 for 7 from the field. Did not hit a 3, 8 points.
Yeah, quite the tale of two games, huh?
Superstar players rarely have games like that.
Right.
Especially when you're in a closeout situation. So I'm not writing the Pacers off. I still like them. They would really have to play well to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the Knicks, for one night, here's that word again, staved off elimination. You hear all of these sportscasters, when they're writing their sportscast, they use that word. Let's calm down. The Knicks avoided elimination. Okay? We don't need staved off. But
too dramatic, staved off, too dramatic.
Just stop breaking it out. Like some of these television meteorologists, we got heat indexes of over 100. We're getting ready to have heat index figures. And you'll hear some of them say, heat indices will be... Stop with the indices. I understand it's a word. We have heat indexes, all right? I don't need indices. Anyway, it was 32 points for Jalen Brunson. Man, he got it going early. And Indiana never led in the game. Karl Anthony Towns, 24 points, 13 boards in the game. Had a big and one late when it looked like maybe Indiana was going to make a move there in the fourth quarter, and they just never did. So 3-2, Indiana still with the lead, and they will get ready for Game 6.
Tomorrow is it tomorrow night at Indiana, right?
Tomorrow night in Indianapolis at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and already Pacers 3.5-point favorites.
Yeah, I can't say I was surprised to see the Knicks pull one out last night. But I still think the Pacers are gonna take the series.
Man, I hope so.
I know, it's your team. You picked them.
Now, if you're the NBA and you are the television networks,
last thing you want.
Who do you want?
The Knicks.
Of course you do.
Easily. Knicks against anybody.
I think Oklahoma City would freaking hammer the Knicks. But I think Indiana has a shot because they have so many guys that can score. It would be, I think the storylines around the Pacers versus the Thunder, you got multiple storylines. First of all, two cities that have never won an NBA championship. I'm not talking about ABA with the Pacers, Indianapolis. I'm talking about NBA championships, two cities. Yes, I understand the Seattle Supersonics have won the NBA championship. They were the Supersonics before they moved to Oklahoma City.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying two cities that have never won NBA championships. That's a cool storyline.
Midwest showdown.
And smaller markets.
Yeah.
And then you've got offense versus defense, because Oklahoma City has the number one defense in the NBA, and the Pacers can score with anybody. And they can go 5, 6, 7 deep in terms of guys that can put the ball in the basket. So I think that particular matchup would be fascinating to watch. Plus, two cities have never won it before. I understand that it may not get the ratings, because if, let's say, you are even a casual Knicks fan, okay, you're probably on board now that the Knicks are making this run, right?
Sure.
When they get eliminated by the Pacers, how many, even casual Knicks fans, do you think are going to tune in to watch the team that just eliminated the Knicks play the Thunder?
I'd say low.
Yeah.
Very low.
I mean, how quickly did you get back to watching the Winnipeg Jets after they eliminated the Blues in the playoffs?
I didn't.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that you will get a lot of that. I don't think they're going to get a big rating in New York.
No. Obviously, they've got, kind of like football. I know nothing's like NFL football, but they've got, they get good ratings. It seems like regardless, but yeah, they want the big market in there. There's no doubt about it.
I think
baseball almost has to have it. It seems like baseball has to have one of those top markets.
The ratings for Diamondbacks Rangers a couple of years ago, not good.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
not good. Hey, two teams that earned their way in, two good stories. Here's Bruce Bochy. They pulled him out of retirement. He carries them to the World Series, and they did all their work on the road. Man, they were winning road games just to make it to the World Series. And then the Diamondbacks, who nobody gave a chance to, wild card team, and here they come. Well, both of them were wild cards, because Houston won the AL West in the final day of the regular season. So that's why
right. Yeah.
the Rangers had to go to Tampa.
Yeah.
So, the storylines were good, kind of like the storyline I'm talking about with Indiana and Oklahoma City, but the ratings, Diamondbacks, Rangers, were not where you want it to be. So, speaking of the Rangers, that's where the Cardinals are. They had yesterday off, and they will be in Texas to take on Bruce Bochy's Rangers. And if you're talking about the most disappointing teams in the sport, I would say it would be a coin flip right now between the Baltimore Orioles, who won 91 games last year and 101 games 2 years ago, and the Texas Rangers, who a lot of people thought were going to be really good. I know Steve Phillips on MLB Network, former GM of the Mets, hosts the morning show on MLB Network Radio. He picked the Rangers to go to the World Series. I picked the Rangers to go to the World Series.
Did you?
In my preseason picks, I had it Rangers, Dodgers, with the Dodgers winning. If I could revisit that pick right now, I would revisit it. I would not be picking the Texas Rangers. Now they've got time to turn around.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of injuries. I mean, Corey Seager's been hurt.
That's one of the big things, because their offense
they can't score.
Brutal.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Is they just, and he's obviously a big part of that, but not able to score any runs. So let's hope that trend continues for the next few days when the Cardinals take on Texas. We got Matthew Liberatore pitching tonight.
That's right,
I believe. And is he? Did I see? Is he fourth in the NL in WHIP? I mean,
he could be.
He's having just a heck of a season.
His numbers are good.
Yeah.
I think there's a column today at STL Today mentioning Liberatore as a potential guy who's going to get some Cy Young votes if this continues.
He started off, let's see here. I mean, he's only got 3 wins right now, which I guess is on the lower end, but I know he wasn't part of that, rotation initially, but a 2.73 ERA, that'll play, right? And
that ranks 21st in baseball.
2.73 does?
Right. His whip of 101 is 15th in baseball.
In ML, in all of MLB.
All of MLB.
How about
higher in the National League?
Higher in the National League, yeah. But I mean, there's no doubt that his success has obviously done wonders for where the Cardinals are at right now.
So, going into this series, remember there are 30 teams in Major League Baseball. Okay, it's the NFL that has 32. So 30 teams in Major League Baseball. The Texas Rangers are 28th in runs scored per game. That is less than the Chicago White Sox.
Wow.
That's how bad it is right now. Offensively, for the Rangers, they've got some good starting pitching. And I gave this stat yesterday. In their last 12 games, and Cardinals don't want to hear this, but in their last 12 games, now ranking 28th in runs scored per game, that means the Rangers are averaging 3.25 runs per game. In their last 12, the Rangers are scoring 2.4 runs per game. Last 12 games, they have a team batting average of 173. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, that's rough. Real rough. I know Evaldi got injured, didn't he? I think
it was triceps soreness, but they were optimistic, and at least the last report I heard, they did not expect it to be an injured list situation for Nathan Evaldi.
Okay. Cardinals will see DeGrom this series, though, on Sunday.
Now, that's a Roku game. I don't know if that means that you can't get it on
your
I'm unfamiliar
cable
with the Roku
satellite
games.
Providers.
Yeah, whether or not you can still get it on FanDuel or if it's exclusive to Roku like the Apple games on Fridays.
Right, those are exclusive, yeah.
You cannot get it through MLB TV. You cannot get it through FanDuel on nights where, and the Apple games are on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
And so they choose a few games that will only be on Apple. Not every game on a Friday night in Major League Baseball is Apple. They choose which game or games. They have multiple games. But I don't know what the setup is for Roku games. I'm sorry, I'm just unfamiliar. Now, I'm very familiar with Roku. All of our TVs at home are Rokus, or the ones that are not Roku TVs when we purchase them. We've installed Roku on the TV, so I have no problem getting anything that's Roku, but I just don't know. And that's a 12 noon game on Sunday. So I don't know if you can only watch it through Roku or not. I don't know. Do you have the Roku app on your TV?
We do, yeah.
And Roku, for the most part, I mean, their programming is free. So I don't know that you've got to do any type of subscription with that.
I don't think you do.
Yeah, I don't think you do either. So maybe it's just you've got to watch it through Roku, and whether or not you've got, if you've got a smart TV, and most TVs these days are, then you likely have Roku. I don't know if you have to go in and create an account, free account, or not. But Sunday's game is Roku, but it's FanDuel tonight and tomorrow. So it'll be 7:05 tonight, 3:05 tomorrow, and it will be Matthew Liberatore, Sonny Gray, Eric Fetty. And Patrick Corbin is
tomorrow night, right?
Yeah. Corbin is actually, at one stretch he was the worst starting pitcher in Major League Baseball after he signed that big extension with the Washington Nationals. Well, he's kind of figured it out under Bruce Bochy. Right now, Corbin 3-3 with a 375 earned run average. So he's having a solid year.
Mm-hmm. Trying to find your Roku question here. I believe I don't think you have to register for anything. I think it's just there. Once you access the Roku,
Okay, so you don't have to create an account.
Don't believe so.
Okay. Now, I've got one.
But I could be wrong.
I've got one because there are a couple of streaming services that, because I have a Roku TV, that I subscribed to those streaming services through Roku. So I do have a Roku account, but Roku is free. I mean, you want to go search and try to find an old series or movie or whatever, you watch it for free on Roku. The only caveat is it comes with ads.
Right.
So in other words, you gotta watch some commercials produced and sold by Roku.
Sure.
But it's free.
Yeah.
So it's not an Apple situation. I think the first year with Apple, I think they did it for free to kind of show everybody, hey, here's our product. And then now you've got to be a subscriber in order to watch the Friday games on Apple. I think that's how it works.
Well, and I think you can subscribe and do a trial, like a week trial run, I think, and then, unsubscribe if you want to. If you want to go through the rigmarole of... I always hate signing up for those free trials because then I forget that I signed up, and
you got
next thing you know, you're 3 months into getting, dinged on, your free trial was over 3 months ago, and
you've got to go into your calendar on your iPhone and set up a reminder. So in other words, with like a day left in your subscription or 2 days left in your subscription, put it in your calendar, in your schedule, so it will send you a reminder. It'll pull right up on your phone, unsubscribe, and then you won't forget.
Good point.
Or if you've got the Rocket Money app, I don't know if you've ever heard of Rocket Money.
I've heard of that.
Okay, you create an account there, and then Rocket Money will go in and look for, I forgot I even had that subscription. And it's still taking money out of my account. Rocket Money finds all that stuff for you.
Man, the things you learn on this show.
There we go.
Wow.
We're full service Huddle. You taking phone calls at the moment?
I think we need one.
All right. We are headed to the EBOMD Huddle Hotline where Mike jumps in to the huddle. Good morning, Mike.
Morning, guys. I have said it all along. This is not just a sports show. You can talk about anything on this show. And that's what makes this show so special.
Not, we may not talk about it smartly, but we might talk about it.
Well, that's exactly what I'm calling. I've got a question for a couple of guys who are smarter than I am.
Let me see if I can find them in the building to come in here. And
the other night before last, when the Cardinals got down 3-0, last year that game would have been over. I mean, they weren't coming back. You didn't have confidence in them, and I reverted to last year. I shut the game off, and then I come back to find out they won it. What is the difference in this? I mean, it's the same players. What is the difference in this team and last year's team? Is it just they're a year older and more experienced? Is it that Marmol is leaving the lineup the same? There's a 180 difference in this team and last year's team, and I can't figure it out. Is it the new hitting coach? I don't understand it. I need some help here, guys.
I think it's a combination of a lot of things, and a couple of things you just mentioned. You got to listen. When a team is struggling offensively, who are the two people that immediately a lot of fans will jump on?
The manager and the hitting coach.
Correct. And when things are going well, why can't they get a little credit? Now, I'm going to play a soundbite in a little bit from Katie Wu in an interview that she did yesterday for Cardinal Territory, and it will probably anger a portion of the Cardinal fan base, but giving Oliver Marmol and his coaching staff a lot of credit for this turnaround, Mike, because both Mikes, you and I both know there is a significant portion of the Cardinal fan base who has been down on Ollie Marmol. First of all, they didn't know who he was. He was the bench coach, youngest manager in the sport, and they have just been down on Marmol, especially after 2 years ago when they had one of the worst teams, since the, advent of the divisions in 1969. I mean, it was one of the worst Cardinal teams we've seen in decades and decades. So they were down on Marmol, and no matter what was going to transpire, I don't know that they're going to be able to be turned around on Oliver Marmol. But, yeah, they've got to. The coaching staff has to get some credit. Some of the lineup adjustments that he's made has to get some credit. And his mixing and matching. And, Burleson's going to play today. We got a right-hander on the mound. Burleson has a nice game. Well, we can't give the manager any credit for that. Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah. To that point, a couple of things I think about. Well, for starters, he took over, Marmol did, for a fairly popular Mike Schilt.
I would say Schilt was popular.
Yeah, popular, and Schilt got shipped out in a kind of a under the table way, which I think didn't sit well. So, unless maybe it was, I don't know, Tony La Russa or someone like that coming back to manage, there probably would have been hard feelings for whoever stepped in there to manage. And then, the roster, we've been through that, 1,000 times. They could win the World Series this year, and people would still hate John Mozeliak and probably still hate Oliver Marmol. It's just, people set their narrative, and that's the way it is, and there's no changing it. I think a couple of things with the lineup and offensively, I mean, and I think you've heard the players speak about it, the approach to the at-bat for all of them appears to be much different, whether that's working the count, grinding foul balls, whatever the case is. A lot of them have, spoken about that. When did this streak start? In my opinion, it started when Mason Wynn moved to second in the order. Go back and look at when he moved to second in the order.
You're exactly right.
He caught on fire. I mean, he was terrible. He was terrible. He caught on fire. He
started the year 0 for 20.
Yeah, 0 for 20.
And remember, he hit like under 100 in spring training.
Right.
Don't forget that.
Yeah. He had 4 hits the other night. I mean, I think who made that lineup change? I think Oliver Marmol probably did. You got Victor Scott II. He wasn't in the lineup at all last year, just a little bit at the beginning of the year.
And the only reason was because of injury.
Right. So, and Ivan Herrera, who, I mean, didn't see, I mean, he's obviously having a breakout season this year. The young players, they're a year older. So I think there's, like Eric said, there's a handful of things, but man, that move to second in the order for Wynn just sparked everything, in my opinion.
I will give Marmol credit, and I will say when I think he does wrong, but I'll give him all the credit in the world. And you got to remember, what is this, his third year as a manager in the big leagues?
Third season.
You got to remember, he's growing into this just like this young team's growing into this. Yeah, first couple of years, you're going to make mistakes. I think he has matured as a manager. I think this team has matured as a ball club. And I think they bought into this hitting coach's philosophy of there's a time to hit and there's a time to slug. And I think they bought into that philosophy, and I don't think they're trying to change the approach at the plate. I think they are, as far as your swing goes, launch angle, things like that, I think he's going up there and he's just saying, guys, just see the ball and hit the ball. And I think that's a big part of it too. But it's such a different team than it was a year ago that I don't understand. It changed overnight, and that's amazing to me. And you talk about the lineup change when you've got a guy who could be a prima donna and Nolan Arenado going to the manager and saying, drop me down to 6th, drop me down to 7th, drop me in the lineup. Herrera is a lot better hitter than I am right now. That's when a team is buying into it, fellas. Arenado could stand his ground and say, nope, I'm a cleanup hitter, or I'm a third place hitter. But yet he asked Marmol to drop him in the lineup, and that shows that you've got a team philosophy. You got a team cohesiveness there. And that's one thing about them that I don't think was there last year.
Got a message here from a friend of the show, Jeff Augustine. He says, wonder if it has something to do with Mo leaving soon. Maybe he's more hands-off this year.
That's a good point.
Maybe Chaim Bloom is more hands-on. We don't know.
Right.
I mean, there is no reporting behind the scenes from anyone, and I'm talking about Derek Gould, Katie Wu, John Denton, these people that are around the team all the time, Lynn Worthy, people that follow Cardinal baseball to earn a living. You're not hearing anything about, okay, what is Chaim Bloom doing other than focusing on the minor leagues until he steps and sits in the big office?
Yeah.
We don't know. He could be very involved.
The trade deadline's, 6 weeks away?
Yeah, end of July.
Yeah.
2 months away to the trade deadline. What do you do if you're the Cardinals? And I've asked this question before. And I heard Katie Wu, they were talking about Arenado and Gorman, and she basically said with Arenado's defense that he plays, I don't see how you can trade him.
It's going to depend on where they are as we get closer to the deadline. We've still got a long time. I mean, the Cardinals could stay hot. They could go south. Injuries are always an issue. What are the Cubs going to do? The Brewers are hot. What does the landscape of the National League Central look like? You've got to take the temperature there. Even an interesting thing, do you remember last year, the Detroit Tigers seemed like they were basically out of it, but they weren't really out of it at the trade deadline. Well, they became the hottest team in baseball after the trade deadline. But what did they do? They sold one of their key relievers, and they sold one of their best starting pitchers in Jack Flaherty.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened? They still got hot. So even though they were making a couple of moves looking toward the future, it was not a Chicago White Sox wave the white flag sale.
Right.
They made a couple of moves, and even though they shed two key guys from their team, they still got hot. So can you make a move with an eye toward the future, yet not gut your team if you believe that maybe they can make a run in the NL Central? I think that you got to ask that question.
I will tell you a telltale sign that is coming up. This series with the Dodgers. We will see how they do against the Dodgers. And if they can hold their own right now against this Dodger team, then you may have a bright future. But if the Dodgers come in and sweep you, then I'm not sure I don't trade for the future, because what good is getting into the playoffs to get put out maybe in the first round? I mean, the St. Louis fans would love it because it means they're back in the playoffs. But if you want to look to the future and look at long playoff runs, then you may have to do what Detroit did last year. And look at Detroit this year, how good they are.
I mean, they are literally one of the best teams in the sport, the Tigers.
Yep.
You mentioned the Dodgers, Mike. I think as we sit here today, the end of May, if you look at the win-loss totals, would you have thought that the Cardinals would only have 2 less wins than the Dodgers this time?
No.
This time of the year, that the Cardinals would have the second most wins in the West if they were in the West division right now. Now, and I hate to do this, but the Cubs just keep on winning. I mean, the Cubs 35 wins right now, second most in the NL. I mean, that Central Division is shaped up to be a lot tougher than I think most people probably thought that it would be going into the year.
The Cubs have a better record than the Dodgers.
Yeah,
do.
Right. They do.
But let's slow the roll a little bit. You played Colorado. You played Miami. Look at the teams the Cubs have been playing.
Okay.
Cincinnati.
Mike, how many times have the Cubs and Dodgers played this year?
I knew he was going to go here, Mike.
They played 7 times.
7.
Really? The Cubs won 4 and the Dodgers won 3. They've already finished with the Dodgers and beat them.
I stepped right in the middle of that, didn't I, Mike?
Hey, I mean, everybody in the world saw the Cubs get waxed the first 2 games of the year in Japan by the Dodgers. Nobody's talking about the fact that they went 4-1 against the Dodgers after those 2 games in Japan.
Well, this Central Division can be tough as long as the Cardinals keep playing hot, and as long as they don't revert back, then they're gonna. I think they're gonna be right there at the end. But I hold my breath, just thinking, well, we're gonna revert back to the team we were, and I hope it doesn't happen. I hope we give the Cubs a run for their money.
See, I guess
I should say then the upcoming series with the Cubs is going to be the telltale sign.
It's going to be a telltale sign because they've got 13 meetings against each other once we hit June 23rd.
No, I think the Cardinals, and I know it's an early sample size, but I mean they've shown that they can beat good teams. I mean they
yes.
The Phillies, the Mets. I mean, you don't get much better than that right now, other than maybe the, Cubs and Dodgers from a record standpoint. But they've shown that they can hang with those teams. And
it's the Cubs and the Phillies who have the best records in the National League.
Right, exactly.
The Mets have the identical record as the Dodgers. And they're not blowing people's doors off.
34 and 22.
Soto's hitting 224.
It's going to be interesting, and I just like I like this team's attitude right now, and man, if they can just hang on to that would be wonderful. But like I said, I'm so scared that they're going to revert back to the old team from last year that I am. But we'll see, fellas. Have a great day. I got to go do some visiting for the church.
You bet.
See you,
Thank you, Mike.
You know, I was thinking about this the other day. Maybe I was listening to Rusty and you, and like this is a team I think that Jess would love. This type of Cardinal team. You know, that they play hard, good defense, good pitching. Appears to have a different approach at the plate. You know, like we've been talking about. There's just a lot to like about the team right now and the way they're playing.
So Mike referenced the Dodgers series. Okay, you've got 3 in Texas this weekend. Then it's another day off for the Cardinals. They don't play Monday. Then Kansas City comes in for 3, and then you see the Dodgers. And if nothing changes, and let's face it, things could change, especially for the Dodgers. They got starting pitchers that are dropping like flies. Roki Sasaki from Japan, who they signed to the mega contract, he's injured. Blake Snell lives on the IL. That's where he's living now. Tyler Glasnow lives on the IL. That's where he's living now. So maybe this is a good time to catch the Dodgers, but if no one gets hurt and nothing changes, and the schedule certainly can because of weather, this is the pitching matchup when the Dodgers come in. In fact, we'll tell you after the break. How about that? Quick timeouts. Sports Huddle coming right back. I mentioned Katie Wu giving some credit to Oliver Marmol. We'll hear from her when we come back. Sports Huddle. Sports Huddle, SEMO ESPN Radio. We've got Cape Catfish Baseball coming up tomorrow and on Sunday. I think it's 6:35 tomorrow, 4 o'clock Sunday. Catfish with the Jackson Rockabillys. And, of course, this is the home of the Catfish, SEMO ESPN. Eric Shawn, lead singer of the Mike Rennick Band, is in studio. That's Mike Rennick. Katie Wu on her podcast, Cardinal Territory, was talking a little bit about an unpopular subject amongst many Cardinal fans, Mike. Oliver Marmol, and she's got some positive things to say. Here's Katie.
After the game today, we're recording this Sunday night. I went into Ollie Marmol's office and I said, I have a compliment for you. And I'm not great with compliments. I'm kind of a smart ass. But I said, I think that you and your staff have done a commendable job, a really good job getting this team on track. And let's think about what Ollie Marmol and his staff had to deal with coming into the season. Minimal roster upgrades, an organization going out there and saying, our priority is the long term, not the short term. And hey, by the way, you need to play all of these players and figure out a way to get every single person consistent playing time so that we know how to move forward with them in the future or without them in the future. And you also, we're not like tanking because we don't do that. We're the Cardinals. You also still have to figure out a way to be relevant and hopefully win games. It was rough in April. And he was put in, a really tough spot, playing some guys like Gorman, Walker every day, even though they were struggling, sitting a hotter bat in Burleson. And something clicked, and a lot of it is the credit to the players. But players don't have that buy-in unless they believe in their coaching staff. And now you're seeing what happens when there's a collective buy-in across the board. That doesn't happen by accident. That's an intentional effort by the coaching staff that said, hey, yeah, all the exterior things happening right now that are not going to work with us, screw that, we don't care. We can build our own culture here, and that's what they did. And I think the coaching staff deserves a ton of credit for turning it around in May.
I think she speaks the truth.
Can you disagree with anything she said right there?
No. Think about those things that she said, none of them which have to do with Marmol. Nothing in his control. He doesn't control the roster. He doesn't control the fact that they signed one free agent in spring training.
Phil Maton, and that was late. A $2 million signing. That was it.
And it's been a great signing.
Yes.
No doubt about that, but that was it. So that she says minimal upgrades. I'm like, well, what do you, you could basically say no upgrades. I guess he would be minimal. Other than, if you've got the Victor Scotts of the world getting more playing time or stuff like that. But all those things not in his control, and haven't been in his control. But they have found a pathway through it so far.
And one of the guys, Mason Wynn, coming off a 4-hit game on Wednesday, and after that 4-hit game, big come-from-behind win in Baltimore. He spoke with Jimmy the Cat Hayes.
4-hit night for Mason Wynn, couple of doubles, 3 runs scored. You guys were down in this one, but you always punch back. Where does that come from?
I mean, just playing for each other. Miles, gave up a couple early. I let him know we were going to pick him up, and, we did just that.
How about the guy behind you, Donovan?
Man, he's different, dog. Every night he's playing hard, hitting every single night it feels like. And, today was just another example of why he's the best second baseman in the game right now.
Povich was sharp early, and it looked like you guys all made adjustments up and down the lineup once you saw more pitches from him. What was your approach?
Yeah, I feel like my first at-bat, I tried to get a little bit too big and, ended up striking out. And then after that, just shortened it up and then just started catching barrels. And I feel like the rest of the team kind of followed suit, just passing the baton to the next guy. Obviously Donnie had the big fly, but other than that, it's just creating runs with any way we can.
You guys get out of here with 2 wins. Last 2 nights, awful weather. They didn't even think you guys were going to play tonight. How big is that for you to get out with a couple of W's?
Oh, it's amazing. Especially after dropping the first one. This is a team that we feel like we should beat. And to come back to these last 2 was great. Like you said, the weather was terrible, but, we all want that off day in Texas. So I'm glad we got it in.
All right.
And I'm glad the Cardinals have that guy. He is going to, I understand he's good now. He is going to be really good.
Keep hitting him second. Keep hitting him there.
Why would you move him?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think the one trend, if you want to talk about some things that the Cardinals you'd like to see different out of the team, getting behind like they're getting behind and having to come back is not necessarily something you want to hang your hat on. I know it shows resilience and those sorts of things, but if they're trending that way over the course of a handful of games, you maybe would like to see some early offense. But I think it also speaks to, how many times have you heard, I know in the whole sabermetric era, third time through the order, third, and the Cardinals seem to really be honing in on that. Like, they get third time through the order or thereabouts, and things change, which is why, you hear Coach Sawyer's talk about it all the time. It's like the numbers don't lie, that it's time to start getting somebody else, on the mound. And Cardinals are kind of living proof of that right now.
It's a totally different subject for a different day, but I'm going to broach into that real quick. People talk about comparing eras in baseball. I'm strictly talking about baseball. Comparing eras in baseball, and you go back to Stan Musial, or if you want to go back further, go back to the Babe Ruth days. Now, Ruth, the numbers he put up were astronomical, but you also have to take a look at what was the game back then. First of all, Pedro Martinez could not even play back then. Bob Gibson could not even play back then. It was segregated. It was a smaller group of white baseball players because there weren't as many teams. And it wasn't third time through the order, we're going to go to the pen and bring a guy that's throwing 98 with sink.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I agree. I know where you're going with this.
These starting pitchers back then, Babe Ruth would face them 4 times. He would face them fatigued at 135 pitches as he got an at-bat against them in the 8th inning. I'm just using him as an example.
Right.
It's a different game. If you think Babe Ruth would hit 60 home runs today, I disagree with you. I'm not challenging the greatness of Babe Ruth in his day. Maybe he buys into all of the modern medical, advantages that you've got now, and all of the
technology
and the ability to have nutrition and exercise and strength training and all of that. Maybe he buys into all of that. It's not beer and hot dogs as the legend is for Babe Ruth. But nowadays, once that starting pitcher goes through the batting order for a couple of times, then they're going to bring guys out of the pen that all of them throw over 95 with nasty sliders, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then who's closing? Well, that guy's hitting triple digits. How many of those guys were walking around in the American League back in the day?
Well, they weren't. They weren't.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's become a global game.
Absolutely.
Which
it's not a knock on Ruth. It was just different back then. I understand he hit more home runs than teams did. I understand. But if you think right now that Babe Ruth would put up Aaron Judge numbers, I'm not so sure I buy it. Which makes what Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani do even more amazing. You say, wow, I'm sick of hearing about Ohtani. Well, there's a reason that people talk about the guy. I mean, some of these relief pitchers that come in, once the starter has, hit the road, some of these guys are absolutely nasty.
Yeah.
You didn't have to face that back in the day.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I know you're trying to tread the line between saying the players are just better now than they were
and
then.
Even Jess would say they're bigger, stronger, faster now than the athlete now. And they have so many different modern advantages than guys that played in earlier eras. Sorry, man. I don't know. Babe Ruth be a 40 home run guy? Maybe.
Yeah, it's almost you just can't even have the discussion to a degree
it's
because
just so different.
You can't make assumptions on what may happen or may not happen. I think you have to, like you said, you look at the eras of the games, and right now, I mean, this is an era that I don't think has the pitching ever been better collectively from starter to closer.
How many the last few years have I been on this show saying, okay, you know how many guys hit 300 in the National League?
Yeah.
How many guys hit 300 in the American League?
Right.
And it's less than 10 in each league? I mean, why?
Are the hitters worse or is the pitching better?
You think the hitters are just not very good? Some of them aren't, but you got to be awfully good to get to the big leagues these days. It's the pitching has never been better. Guys have never had better stuff. There are pitching labs everywhere, and guys that are 7, 8 years old, kids. I mean, they're in pitching labs for their whole career until they get to high school and then college and then working their way up through professional baseball. It's just a different game. That's all I'm saying. Pitching has never been better.
And I think, again, from starter through closer, that who you're facing 3 or 4 times on a given night is collectively better than it's ever been.
Babe Ruth would never face Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
No. Right. You may face...
We didn't have Japanese pitchers back then.
Well, you may face 4 different pitchers on a given night.
Yes.
I mean, definitely 3, potentially 3, but it's just... Now, again, what do these players have that players Stan Musial, what's the first thing they do whenever a new pitcher comes into the game? They run over the dugout and there's an iPad right there, and they start going through video. They probably have all of the and
they've got the written scouting reports, and they do scouts before each game,
right?
And all of those things.
Yeah. So, your premise at the beginning was correct. They're different eras, and it's not a slam on one era over the other. It's just different.
Could Babe Ruth still hit today? Sure, he could.
Yeah.
Could Stan Musial still hit today? Yes. Could Ted Williams hit today? Yes. But it would be different. I mean, they just weren't seeing guys like that. Now, did Bob Feller throw 99? Probably.
Yeah.
We know Nolan Ryan did. You go back a few eras, but back then you didn't have as many guys with the velocity and the nasty pitch assortment that you've got in modern baseball now. I mean, just even on a random night, go watch the Minnesota Twins bullpen and how many guys they bring in that are throwing 96 to 99.
Yeah, they're
How
everywhere.
many of those guys were in bullpens in 1920 when Babe Ruth was in his heyday? Sorry, they didn't exist.
No.
Were there guys that could throw that hard back then? I'm not saying that they couldn't.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, it's just a little different. But the whole premise is third time through the order, and you got to give Oliver Marmol and his coaching staff a little bit of credit, because when they were stinking up the joint, the first people that everybody wanted to talk, or most Cardinal fans wanted to talk about, the coaches, the manager, the president of baseball operations.
Hey, and you could say the same thing for Dusty Blake and the pitching staff.
I have never been a Blake guy, but look what they're doing.
They're doing something right, so far this year. So you got to give them credit where credit's due.
But I also think, and Jess and I would talk about it, how much with his background, Dusty Blake, he wasn't a former, major league guy. With his background, do the pitchers trust him? Are they listening to him? Do they respect him? Is there buy-in? And that's the thing that Katie was talking about. It appears that there's buy-in from the pitchers to the hitters.
Right. Yeah.
With the manager, the pitching coach, and the hitting coach. And then you got Dirty Dan as the bench coach. Danny Descalso. All right. So it'll be Cardinal baseball tonight, and it is a 7:05 game. Matthew Liberatore versus Jack Leiter, the former star from Vanderbilt University.
Oh, okay.
Remember their two aces, Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter? They both
right.
pitch for the Rangers.
They're both with them.
Both pitch for the
I
Rangers.
always like that name, Kumar Rocker.
Kumar Rocker. Okay. I teased that Dodgers series. The Cardinals get back home.
Oh, the rotation?
Game 1, Sonny Gray versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yamamoto is on the short list, the very short list for Cy Young Award winners this year.
Yes, he is. He has a sub-2 ERA.
The Los Angeles Dodgers have used 14 different starting pitchers. Let me say that number again, 14. I don't know how they continue to do it, but the injuries, have been mounting, and they knew when they traded for Glasnow. They knew when they signed Blake Snell. These guys have track records of injuries, so.
It seems, is it the last few years, like the Dodgers staff is just always hurt?
They were decimated last year.
Yeah, they were. You never knew who was going to start a game.
They're winning World Series games with a bullpen game.
Not to mention that one of the pitchers, you mentioned Shohei Ohtani. He's a guy.
Coming back. They just had video of him throwing a bullpen the other day.
I saw that. The ball breaking like 3 feet.
Oh, my goodness. So it's Sonny Gray versus Yamamoto, Eric Fetty versus Dustin May, Carrot Top, in Game 2. And then Game 3, Andre Palante versus Clayton Kershaw. And
Cardinal killer.
Kershaw was good against Cleveland the other day. It was 5 innings, 1 run.
He's afraid of the Cardinals. They got his number, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, Matt Carpenter shut it down though, so he may not be.
That's true. Yeah,
may not be as scared.
Yeah.
All right. Big plans for the weekend?
Just gonna follow the kids around some, and then keep an eye on the Redbirds, Catfish, whatever else is out there. Like to see Indy shut that series down. That'd be nice. But man, it's gonna be finally a nice weather weekend. Haven't had one of those in a while.
So the Edmonton Oilers wrapped up their series with the Dallas Stars last night. So it'll be Wednesday that they get the Stanley Cup Finals going. NBA, and they moved it up because they didn't know if, the series. NHL will adjust game 1 of their finals. The NBA will not.
Right.
It was June 6th or 5th, no matter what, for the NBA. That's just the way it is. If the Pacers close it out or they don't close it out, there is a hard start date for the NBA Finals. NHL will fluctuate, and I like that. You
I do
don't have
too.
to wait around for a week.
Yeah.
So the Cardinals, Catfish, my weekend was going to be baseball, broadcasting baseball, but because of the weather, that will not be the case.
Wow.
All right. Lovely and talented Dawn Shawn, say hello to her. Got a day off today, so she's fired up for that. And we will be back in Adam on Monday. We'll get the Marty party revved up. Did we forget anything?
Probably.
All right.
But it'll have to wait.
All right. Don't forget SEMO Scramble, Rusty Hendricks, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Mike, enjoy your weekend.
You
we'll
too.
see you Monday. Lead singer of the Mike Rennick Band. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.